What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back in our weekly MLB power rankings here for week 18. And it's going to be a lot of changes with some new teams entering the top 10, some falling out. Around last place, there's a lot of changes there, but the middle of the pack kind of staying the same. But let's get into it. But before we actually do, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing a giveaway at 200 subscribers. Yes, 200, not 500. Trying to get those numbers up. So let's get into it here at 30th. Coming in last still, we got the Nationals. Obviously, they dealt Juan Soto and Josh Bell to the Padres for Luke Voigt, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Robert Hassel, James Wood, and Jarlin Susana. And, it's going to be a matter of time depending on what that return is going to be. A lot of people are comparing it to the Miguel Cabrera trade to the Tigers, where they dealt Miggy for Dontrelle Willis and Cameron Maybin. But this Nationals team, they're 2-9 in the last 11. Worst team in MLB in pitching, and more than likely soon to be hitting now, losing those two guys. They got 6 games this week, and the big thing for them is Juan Soto and Josh Bell's return. And I believe it is Friday, their return. 29th, we have the A's dropping a spot. They're playing competitive games, playing some good baseball, but just unfortunately, they don't really have much going for them. They traded away Montas. That was their kind of only hope. But that means the young guys are going to get a chance to play, prove themselves, and see who can belong at this level. But if you're looking at starting pitching still, Blackburn and Cole Irvin are a good 1-2 punch. They're pretty solid. But after that, it's just kind of something to look at. And, you got six division opponents this week. It's going to be a rough week for them. 28th, we got my Tigers. Not much to say except disappointment. Alavila needs a fire. Team needs to be sold. Spencer Torkelson's in the minors just because he can't figure it out. So there's something on the inside maybe we don't know that's happening here. But Riley Green, he's been the only bright spot for the Tigers since he got called up. Making acrobatic catches, hitting home runs, making doing whatever the team needs him to do. He's doing it. But despite that, they're 7-20 in the last 27. And you can't win in today's game if you don't hit home runs. And the Tigers are 21 behind the next closest team, which is Washington and Cleveland, 86. The Tigers have 65, and it's very hard to watch Tigers baseball. Let's just say that. I prefer watching the Marlins now down here in Florida. 27th, we have the Cubs dropping a lot. Main things for them, they got Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras staying on the Cubs the rest of the year. Rotation, they might be back to full strength in middle August. And this team's super inconsistent. As you see last week, they were 23rd. They dropped here. And if you want to mention something, the Field of Dreams game is this week, and they play the Reds. But we'll get more into that here soon. 26, we have the Pirates making a jump up here. Their 7-game losing streak turned into a sweep of Milwaukee 3-0, just like that. And it's baseball, funny how baseball works. And that's after dealing all their guys except Brian Reynolds, pretty much. Their hitting has been whack. Pitching, they're going to struggle to get to the end of the year. That's for sure. I mean, Bednar was on the IL. I think he still is, and he's been their best reliever. And they do get benefit of the doubt, though, playing a weak Arizona team, and San Francisco is very inconsistent as well. But it is all road games. 25th, we have the Kansas City Royals, and this young core is starting to pick things up here. They're looking pretty solid here, in my opinion. Hitting is starting to go along with that, and the young core. You can just tell how they've been playing, carrying themselves on the field, that this is one of those teams you're not really looking forward to play come the end of the year. I think their record doesn't say how good this team is. I mean, they're starting to play, in my opinion, from the looks of it, they're starting to act and play like they're at least around 500 ball club. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play the Dodgers this weekend at home. 24th, we have the Reds. And, I mean, they dealt 4 starters, Luis Castillo, Tyler Mayhew, Brandon Drury, and Tommy Pham. And now Hunter Green, he's on the IL as well, and they might rule him out for the rest of the year. Just for his safety, he's a young arm, supposedly going to be their ace soon, and you don't want to risk that. But Jonathan India, it's good to see him back on the field after these few weeks. And, if you really want to get down to it, take away the Reds' first 25 games, and this team's a 500 ball club. Obviously, now things might change because of those trades. Hey, baseball is a crazy sport, and you're seeing it here. And to close it out, they do have 6 games this week, but one of those games is the Field of Dreams game. That's why it has the asterisk there. Thursday night on Fox, it's going to be Reds, Cubs, and they revealed the sick alternate uniforms today. And I mean, a lot of people are like, why couldn't it be good teams? Well, there's history here between these teams. So I think it's going to make for a great game. 23rd, we have the Colorado Rockies, 5-12 out of the All-Star break, and they've pretty much eliminated themselves from contention. Unless they can go on a 10, 15 game winning streak here, I'd say they're out of it. But other than that, the only thing they have to go for them is Jose Iglesias hitting 312, CJ Cron hitting pretty well too. Brendan Rodgers and Ryan McMahon are some names also to mention that are hitting pretty good. But other than that, I really couldn't tell you who else is on this team besides Charlie Blackmon. 22nd, we have the Angels moving up back again, but they're 6-18 in the last 24. They're pretty much out of it as well. Trout, when's he going to get back? Ohtani, he had to be talked to with the trainers yesterday against the Mariners. It's a bottom 5 team in major hitting stats. But on a positive note, Reed Detmers, the rookie, after getting recalled in his last 5 starts, a 1.2 ERA, 31 innings, 38 Ks. He's been, the lone bright spot in that rotation besides Ohtani this year. 21st, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're bottom in 8, both hitting and pitching, which is never a good thing. Merrill Kelly has been an ace in the making this year with a 2.86 ERA. Ketel Marte and Christian Walker have really been the only significant bats in that lineup day in, day out. Those are the 2 guys that you don't want to pitch to as much. But other than that, you really don't have any consistency of any of those other hitters. They do get 7 games this week where they could, easily walk away 5-2, possibly even 6-1 with those easier opponents. 20th, we have those Marlins that I was talking about earlier. Sandy Alcantara, 1.88 ERA, 141 Ks. I mean, he's pretty much a lock almost at this point to win the NL Cy Young. But the consistent hitting has really held this team back all year. They went on a stretch, I believe it was 26 straight innings without no runs scored. I mean, the Tigers, of course, did worse. But Jazz Chisholm, it's trending like he is coming not back this year. Yeah, unfortunately, you don't get to see Jazz, their superstar in the making. He probably won't be coming back. But the pitching, surprisingly, has been the downfall of this team. With everyone getting hurt except pretty much Alcantara, the rest of the rotation has been hurt at least one point this year. And, when you don't have that consistency, at least a good first 3 guys in your starting rotation, it adds up. And that's why you see them here at 2-7 in the last 9. 19th, we have the Texas Rangers. 46-49 against everyone in the MLB except the Seattle Mariners. They're 2-11 against them. Throw away that, and this team's right here competing for a spot in postseason. But could they make a run? It's possible, but I just don't see it this year. I think they're really a year and 2 away from contention, and we're really going to see if they want to make a run at this year. They have 6 games this week against the 2 teams in front of them in the division. 18th, we have the Red Sox. This team is very inconsistent. You can see it there at 20-6 in June, 8-19 in July, and then 3-4 so far in August. Trevor Story, hopefully he's going to be back this week for my fantasy team and, for the Red Sox sake as well. They need him back in the lineup. But they did bring in some new faces after getting rid of some as well. They brought in Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, and Reese McGuire. They got rid of Christian Vasquez, I believe, and a few other guys. I can't remember. But, kind of just mixing and matching here, seeing what they can get. Kind of switch up the vibes, I guess. But the team average is pretty good at 253. It's ranked 6th in the MLB. And, with that being said, this team can hit. It's just a matter of time before they have put it all together, play consistent ball, and, maybe squeeze into a postseason berth. 17th, we have the Giants. Don't really like talking about this team just because, they were hot last year. You saw them, win 107 games. And then this year, kind of bringing almost everyone back. And then here they are sitting a little under 500. But that's just because a lot of things have happened this year. Injuries, bad play, not consistency what we saw last year. 16th, we have the White Sox. Don't like talking about them either because they're the Tigers' rivals. But I will give them some credit here. I don't know how they've been doing it with everyone being hurt this year and under exceeding, everyone's expectations. They're still only 2 games back from Minnesota in the AL Central. If they go, 6-1 this week, who knows? They may be on top just because, they play some weak opponents this week. But I think the key for this White Sox team moving forward is Luis Robert's health. If he stays healthy the whole year, then this White Sox team is going to be really good. Cleveland Guardians here at 15. They're only 1 game back from Minnesota in the AL Central. And, a name that isn't getting mentioned enough is Tristan McKenzie. After his year last year was a pretty shaky. But this year he just came out and has really done his thing with a 3.16 ERA, 121 Ks. Even Shane Bieber too, he's having a great year. And this team, is a team that is getting way overlooked. And if they can keep up that rotation, sneak into a wild card series at least, they have a good rotation to at least move on to the next round. And then we have the Twins rounding out the AL Central here, the leaders by 1 game, of course. Luis Ariz, he's been going off this year. Max Kepler and Soto are still on the IL, but they did bring in some arms at the deadline with Pablo Lopez, Tyler Mayhew, and Michael Fulmer. So they're solidifying that bullpen for sure. And then obviously getting another starter was key. And I really like that. I think Mayhew will be a good addition to this Twins ball club. They really needed a good starting pitcher. They did miss out on Montas. They were linked to him, but just couldn't get that done. And, they got the next best thing, in my opinion, Mayhew, a very underrated arm. And I think, in the AL Central, it's going to look like he's a really good get. 13th with the Baltimore Orioles. Now I'm liking this team, to possibly get a wild card berth here. Even after trading Trey Mancini, the longtime Oriole to the Astros, I still think this team has something in them to get there. They're 4th in the AL East currently, but, that's like within 2 games and they can be in 2nd place, I think. And, Adley Rutschman, he's figuring out a 301 average since the start of July. And, they have 3 divisional opponents this week. I think currently they're beating the Blue Jays last time I looked. And, going on the road at Boston for 1 and then in Tampa for 1 as well, which will shake up for a really good series. 12th, we have those Tampa Bay Rays. Brandon Lau and David Peralta, since he's been acquired, are both hitting 286 in August and 10 total RBIs. Wander, when they get him back, that's going to be a huge boost to that lineup. Same with Glass now, possibly getting him back this year. But the pitching has really been what's been holding this team together. The 3.42 ERA, which is 4th best in the MLB. Is it going to be enough to get them to a postseason berth? As of right now, it's looking that way. But if they want to go far and make a run, they definitely need those bats to wake up. 11th, we have the Mariners falling out of the top 10. Nothing too spectacular. I think it's just because the teams ahead of them that have vaulted ahead of them really deserve to be in the top 10 after last week. They're 30-13 still in their last 43. Julio Rodriguez is on track to either return Wednesday or, at the worst case scenario, on Friday. And Ken Giles and Diego Castillo, could they be back as well this weekend? Add some help to that bullpen. But it's going to be a good series this week, at least to start off the week against the Yankees. And that's going to be, very good test for those Mariners. Starting off the top 10, we got Fernando Tatis's Padres. And yes, Tatis, speaking about him, hopefully he's back here maybe early as this weekend, possibly. I know they want to get him some rehab games in first. We just don't know when those are going to be. Obviously, Juan Soto and Josh Bell are the huge names they got at the deadline. And don't forget about Josh Hader, too. I know that it was a few days before, once the trade went through, a lot of people forgot they got Hader. But they are on a 4-game losing streak right now. They got swept against the Dodgers in LA. It's a bad look there, but a lot of people are jumping on this hype train here. And they're 15.5 games back from the Dodgers in the NL West. That's a little over 2 weeks of baseball. I think this team, they're definitely going to make the playoffs in my eyes. Definitely getting one of those wild card spots, but the division is pretty much almost over for that. 9th, we have the Brewers dropping 2. They were 3 games ahead of the Cardinals last week, going into the NL Central, and now they're 2 games back. Tough week for them. They're 1-6 in the last 7, while the Cardinals are hot. The rotation's been great. Hitting, it's starting to pick up a little bit, but it's just going to be an early exit again in the postseason if they get there. That is. Because of their hitting, and we've seen in the last postseason that they can't score a lot of runs, and once their pitching gives up 3-4 runs, they can't compete. 8th, we have the Blue Jays dropping as well, even though they're 15-6 in their last 21, and I just think it's a tough spot for them to be in right now. They're 2nd in the division behind the Yankees, obviously, but can they fend off everyone else that's behind them? You got Baltimore going into Baltimore, which I said they were losing. You need to win at least 1 or 2 there, at least have a respectable, can't get swept on the road there, and then come home, beat Cleveland to really solidify this team, keep them in that conversation for that wild card race. Phillies, we got them jumping up too, and that's because they are on a 5-game winning streak. They've won 10 of their last 11 games, and they could pass the Braves this week in the NL East for the 2nd place because they're only 3 games back. I know they don't play them, but it's a big week for these Phillies here as they have 2 divisional opponents with Miami Marlins and going to New York. But Kyle Schwarber, he's been doing great, obviously. Alec Boehm, he's been on a tear in these last 100 100 or so at bats with 366 average. And I think an underrated move, probably one of my favorite moves at the deadline, was Noah Syndergaard going to the Phillies, a team that really, doesn't really need a starting pitcher as much as we think they do. I know Zach Wheeler's been pretty good. Kyle Gibson, he's been putting some good starts together. Aaron Nola, obviously, he's a dog. But I think Syndergaard, with that postseason experience early in his career, when they went to the World Series, I think he can help that Phillies team for sure. Sixth, we have the big jumpers of the week with the St. Louis Cardinals. And, they're, as I said, they were 3 games back on the Brewers. And here they are with a 2-game lead going into the NL Central. And they actually play them this weekend in St. Louis. I'll be there. So that'll be some great baseball I'll get to see. They're on a 7-game winning streak. Maybe it'll be continued after they sweep Colorado. That's a possibility. And Goldie, obviously, he's having another great year for MVP conversations. And Jose Quintana, I think, is going to be another trade move that flies under the radar. He's having, a good veteran year. Just on the 1-year deal with the Pirates, they traded him over to the Cardinals. Cardinals missed out on, Montas and Castillo as well. So they got Quintana, and I think it fits them well. Bringing in a lefty starter after Matz's, injury to let him go for the year. Jack Flaherty, he could be back soon. So this Cardinals team is really stacking up to make a run at it here and kind of run away with the division. Starting our top 5, we have the Atlanta Braves. They're staying here. Even after that 1-5 week last week, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson have been really good this year. Obviously, you can see their stats there. Ian Anderson, surprise name that's getting sent down to the minors, they announced. He needs it, though. He's been struggling recently and this year. Maybe it'll be a good thing, turn him around, come back up in September, even sooner, possibly kind of lock it in. But that's because, they added Jake Odorizzi and Raciel Iglesias. These guys are going to have immediate impacts for the Braves. And I really like the Iglesias one as well because Jansen's on that 1-year deal this year. Iglesias, they have, I believe, team control until 2025. So obviously they're going with him in the future. Jansen's either going to re-sign and be kind of probably the 8th inning guy possibly next year, or he's going to go somewhere else and be the closer. But the Braves, I'm liking what they're doing here. And this team, could make another run at it. 4th, we got the Yankees, and this team really fell off. Not really fell off, but really fell flat on their face here in the last few weeks, coming on the All-Star break. 5-game losing streak after the deadline, even though they added some pieces. Aaron Judge more than likely going to win that MVP. But the team ERA of 3.33, which is 3rd best in the MLB, is only going to improve in my eyes just because, they added some arms at the deadline. And of course, when you add starting pitching, obviously, and it's top tier starting pitching, Montas, it's going to pan out for you. Maybe he won't get the benefit of the doubt a few times just because he's playing New York with that short porch. But, when they go on the road, I think this Yankees team is going to be a force to reckon with. 3rd, we have the Astros dropping 1. That's because they're 4-5 in their last 9. Yes, they've been struggling a little bit here as of late, but they have 6 easy games at home. Easy games at home. Just some under 500 teams, and I think they can get back on track for sure this week. But there's been reports that Michael Brantley might be back this year. Lance McCullers, he's looking good. He had his rehab start over the weekend, and he could get back here soon. And JV, after Tommy John, he's having a great year with that 1.73 ERA, 127 Ks. He's probably all but surely locking up that Cy Young. At 2, we get the New York Mets. 6.5-game lead on the Braves for the NL East after they took 3 of 4 from them over the weekend, and that's huge going forward in that NL East race, especially 12-2 in the last 14, which has led to great success. And you look at that rotation there: Chris Bassett, Taijuan Walker, Carlos Carrasco. They've been excellent. And now you add Max Scherzer, and now you add Jacob deGrom as well because he's finally back. It's gonna be a tough 4-game series if you have to play the Mets. Let's just say that. Then if you're up, or if you're down 1, down 2, you got to come in and face Edwin Diaz, the best closer in baseball right now. Yeah, it's rough. Let's just say that. Now they have 3 games against Cincy, 3 in Philly, which will be a good series to see those streaking Phillies. Net 1, of course, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers staying put. They've been the clear-cut favorite here since the Yankees have slid since the All-Star break. They're 19-3 in their last 22. They're currently on an 8-game winning streak, and they're starting to get healthy too. Chris Taylor, Blake Trinan, and Dustin May, they could all be back this week. Kershaw got hurt, unfortunately, but it's looking like it's nothing too serious. and even Kevin Pillar, could he be back here in a few weeks? So this Dodgers team, it looks like they're only going to start getting healthier as the season goes on. And not to mention, they also have a 15 and a half game lead on the Padres in the NL West. So more than likely, this team's looking like they're almost a 100-win team lock for sure. They're going to coast to more than likely the 1 seed as well, unless they fall off and the Mets get super hot. But they have 5 games this week against the AL Central. I think they'll at least go 4-1. So just another good week for the Dodgers. But that's gonna be it for the video today. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below to be entered in that giveaway. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.